And good morning. Hello there. Good afternoon and good evening. And it's welcome once again. John Lavenia Success Mastermind. What is today? It is June 8th of 22. I'm your guy, Glen Henderson. Nice to see you. You can tell I'm in slightly different digs than I've been in on some previous calls, making some moves, moving some stuff around, bringing the office back into the house, and yeah, it's good. It's good. I like change. This is the thing about me. I get bored easily. So it's nice to see you. It's the general session. I'm Glen, your guy for today, Glen Henderson. We've met before at some point, haven't we? Yes. So good to see you. Well, let's get the housekeeping done so everybody knows what's coming up. Today's the big day. 3:15 this afternoon, 3:15 Eastern Time, 8:15 UK time. It is Books for Britain with our friend Mandy Henderson. So what book are we covering this week, Mandy? I'm sure she will let us know. Hey, wait a minute. It's the guy in the car. What's up, John? Good to see you, my friend. And Kat are here, and so is the famous money mama herself, Lindsay Dollar, and all of those. I can see you jumping on via the various interwebs. It's good to see you. Always a pleasure. So, what's the topic for today? I've been having some conversations with a couple of people recently who have been through and are currently going through some fairly rough times. And wait a minute. Is that Trinity? Yes! What's up, Trin? Good to see you. So John's playing chauffeur today. Cool. This is what dads do. It's a cool thing. So anyway, I was saying, I've had conversations over the past couple of weeks with some people who have been dealing with some rough moments, some rough patches in their life. And it's been interesting to me to have a perspective on those conversations that based on my own experience, if that sentence makes even the slightest bit of sense. Wow, it's Linda and Kat and of course Daisy, always jumping in. Don't tell the boss. We don't want to get Daisy in trouble. It's an interesting geodesic sort of thing behind you there, Kat. Like it. I was talking with a friend of mine who's going through some very tough personal struggles, the dissolution of a marriage. And the thing about it is, it's, if it were just one of those Hollywood things, that'd be one thing, some Hollywood diva gets divorced from some Hollywood pretty boy and, really who cares, right? The thing with my friend is there are kids involved. And it's interesting for me, not that he's having problems. I don't find that interesting. What I'm finding interesting and sort of familiar in a way is some of his reactions or his responses to what's happening, to what's going on. I'll just say without giving away any personal details that the dissolution of this marriage involves some, shall we say, serial infidelity, and not on his part. So it's here's the thing: he is beating the crap out of himself for this situation. He is totally blaming himself and well, it's my fault that she cheated. It's my fault that this thing happened. It's my fault. And it is his response, and the choices that he's making currently around his responses are kind of dragging his life down at the moment in some very troubling ways. There's some self-medication going on, if you know what I mean. And so I've been thinking that I may be able to help him, because there are aspects of what he's dealing with that I have gone through. Not, breakup of a marriage because of infidelity. No, that has not happened with me. What has happened is that, because of the way his soon-to-be former wife is handling the whole situation with the house and the kids and the money and all of that, he is pretty much sleeping in his car these days. And I can't imagine that ever being fun. But that part of his struggle I can relate to, because as some of you know, as I may have shared with some of us on this call, I have personally been through a situation in my own life where I was for, let's say, the better part of 3 years or so, 3 years, a little over 3 years, I was essentially homeless. It was during the time that I was living in the Middle East, and through again a variety of circumstances that I'll explain a little bit about. There were a bunch of choices that I had made that got me into that position of being homeless. Things that I could have done better myself. Things where I could have made better choices in the past, didn't, and ended up where I was. So how the heck do you get out of something like that? How do we, as people who we've all faced our different issues and our different struggles and all of that, how do I help my buddy get out of where he is at the moment? Well, he and I are going to get together toward the end of this week, and I'm going to tell him my story, because I don't think he knows. I'm going to share with him some of what I went through and how I got out of it, which is what I'm now going to share with you. And I'm always doing a full disclosure here in our mastermind conversations. I'm always telling tales on myself. Have you noticed that? Constantly telling tales on myself and showing you all the warts. Well, you know what? I figure if I share enough real talk about stuff that I've dealt with and come out the other side and was like, hey, and I didn't even die, then maybe someone else can hear something about my own experience and say, hey, that if that guy Glen could survive that, maybe that's the idea. So when I was living over there, here's what happened. Because of some like divorce and child support and stuff, issues earlier in my life, I was fairly far behind, in arrears, as they say, on my child support payments. And the way, this will be sort of a bit of information for you, Mandy. The way marital law or family law works in most of the states here in the US of A, if one is far enough behind on child support payments, certain privileges are no longer available to that person. One of those being the issuance of a new passport. So I came to the end of a work contract, a work visa that I had in the country where I was living. And in order to get a new job, to sign up for a new job, new work visa, had to have a valid passport. Went to the U.S. Embassy there where I was, and they said, "Oh, so sorry, Glenn. You remember that child support thing? Can't give you a new passport." So picture this. Oh, wait, no, actually, we could give you a new passport. We could give you a new passport. It would be what they call an emergency passport, essentially a one-way ticket back to the U.S. and straight into, shall we say, some legal troubles. So I said, well, thanks anyway, right? Meanwhile, I can't get a job because I don't have a passport. Can't leave the country because I don't have a visa. And can't go home. Well, I could go home, but that wouldn't work out well for me. So I was essentially a man without a country. 3+ years of this. I spent a lot of that time depending upon the kindness of strangers, friends really, who put me up in spare bedrooms and so forth. And finally was able to get all the child support stuff worked out and paid up, and all of that. So now, okay, was able to get a new passport, and now I can move around and, sort of back to normal life. Here's the point that I'm going to share with my friend when we get together. During that 3-year period, there was, as I know has been the case with him, there was more than one occasion at which I seriously considered the possibility that, maybe my kids would be better off with the insurance money, if you know what I mean. Because, you get down that low and it can often happen that you begin to despair of ever getting out of that situation, of ever getting things fixed, getting resolved, getting back to anything resembling normal. But I did it. And I have to say I'm fairly proud of myself for having gotten here. Let me tell you how. Ingrid! Greetings, nice to see you. So here's how I did it. You may want to write this down. Every morning, when I woke up, I'd swing my legs over the side of the bed. Oh, which, by the way, I'll get back to the rest of the getting out of it strategy. Have you ever heard or read in the news some of those stories about, terrible labor conditions in some of these Middle Eastern countries, where the poor Indians and Sri Lankans and everything are terribly mistreated by their employers and living in deplorable conditions and labor camps and all that sort of thing? Yeah, I lived in a labor camp for 6 months. Yup, did that too. But even in there, here's the getting out of it. Here was the getting out of it. Every morning, and this is the part you want to write down. Every morning, when I woke up, I swing my legs over the side of the bed, and my feet would hit the floor. And I would get up, and I'd start moving. And I'd keep moving. And then for the rest of that day, I would keep moving. Talking to people, going for this, trying for that job, seeing what I could do, just trying to hustle my way to some kind of sustenance for the week. Where am I going to get some money to buy some food this week? Where am I going to get some money to put some gas in my little BS car this week so I can get around and talk to some other people about some income? Just kept moving. And at the end of the day, I'd head on back, and if I could have a bite to eat, I'd do that, and then I'd swing the feet back up over and hit the sack and catch a few hours sack time. And then the next morning, wake up, swing the legs over, feet hit the floor, get up, start moving, and keep moving that day. and then the next day, and then the next day, and then the next day I would get up and hit the floor and keep moving, get moving, keep moving. And then one day, a good friend of mine reached out to me and asked if I would consider working at their place of business. Friend fully understood my situation and said, we may be able to set you up with a little bit of money kind of under the table so you can keep body and soul together kind of a thing. You know what she set up? You know what my friend set up for me? My salary, my wages for doing that job were accounted as part of that company's petty cash expenditures. What? Yeah, I was paid out of petty cash for a couple of years. Was able to stay afloat, keep some gas in the car, keep a little food in my belly so that I was finally then able to turn around and set myself up in a solid position. And got my passport, got my visa, got legal and everything else. Right? And now back in the States, didn't fly back into a pair of handcuffs. So it worked out for me because I kept moving, kept talking to people, kept trying different things. And this friend who helped set me up with this situation that pretty much saved my life at that time, that's pretty far outside the box, outside the thinking of what many people might consider, as a way to work and make money. My friend that I'm going to be getting together with, who's having the struggles, at the moment he's not moving. At the moment he's not moving. As a matter of fact, I went to a function a few days ago where he was there. We met, the group of us who were getting together met at about 8:30 in the morning. And when I went to say hello to him, it was quite clear to me that he was still drunk from the night before. Listen, what am I, the Acme Judgment Company? If you want to have a drink, have a drink. My point is, he's not moving at the moment. He's stuck. I've been told by other friends that, he's sleeping late and, not getting much work done. You know what I mean? You understand. Because of everything that's dragging him down. So what I'm going to share with him is two principles. And here's where we get to the crux of what we're talking about today. The two principles that I'm going to share with him is, number one, in my case, nothing changed with regard to my situation, my being homeless, the job, the visa, the child support, the this, the that, the other. Nothing changed until I first made the decision to realize and internalize the truth, the fact that everything I was currently experiencing at that time, every circumstance, every setback, every bad piece of crap that was happening in my life was my responsibility. Holy shit. That is not a fun thing to say to oneself. I can tell you right now. But what I kept repeating to myself, people would ask me, oh my God, Glenn, how did you get into this situation? I mean, how in the world? And I finally started getting to the point where I gave myself enough guts to say, you know how I got to this point? Everything that's happening in my life today, every one of the circumstances in my life today, as I said at that time, every one of them is the result of a decision, a choice, an action that I took in the past. All of it. I could have done this better. I could have done that better. I could have made different choices at different times. So that every current circumstance, and this is, oh boy, Here he's about to do it. Yep, maybe this is Glen's first time to punch somebody in the face, like Lavenia does to me all the time. Everything in your life, every circumstance, every situation in which you currently find yourself is either directly or indirectly the result of a choice, a decision, an action that you have taken at some point in your past. Every action, every choice has consequences. You've heard me talk about the principle from quantum physics, which I heard on an episode of Star Trek, yes, that for every action, there are an infinite number of possible outcomes. And all of those outcomes are based on my own choices. So, the first time I really got this, got it, was in reading a book by a guy named Mike Hernacki. The book is called, let me see if I can see it right here. I'm still unloading books from the boxes of the old office. Yes, here it is. Hang on, be right back. Here's the book. The book is called The Ultimate Secret to Getting Absolutely Everything You Want. What? You may want to write this down. You can take a screenshot. The Ultimate Secret to Getting Absolutely Everything You Want. Mike Hernacki. Let me see if I can find this right quick. It's the whole thing is there's a difference between responsibility and blame. You get that? There's a difference between responsibility and blame. Blame, in my view, in my opinion, and you can, I'm going to hear from you shortly. Blame to me is pointing a finger at somebody else for something that happened. Blame, well, I couldn't help it. It was his fault. Well, I couldn't help it. The government. Well, I couldn't help it. It's not my fault. The white man won't give me no shot. Oh, well, I couldn't help it. My ex-wife, this, that, and the other. Oh, no, I couldn't help it. Do you know my boss is such a jerk? It's not my fault. Responsibility, and boy, this is hard. I know this is hard. I know it's hard. Was for me. I take responsibility for all the circumstances, all the situations, for the current reality of my life. It's not my fault. It's nobody's fault. But until I recognize that I have the ability to respond to all the circumstances in my life, nothing will ever change. Did you see what I did there? Responsibility. You have the ability to respond and take action to improve, to change every circumstance in your life. And until we recognize that, nothing will change. Nothing can change. That's one of the main messages that I'm going to share with my buddy when we get together. Bro, I know where you are is effed up. I know this. You are in a seriously messed up situation. And you know what? Take responsibility for it. Time to man up. Take responsibility. Realize that you have the ability to respond to what you are currently experiencing. You can respond and take different action and change it. He's probably going to punch me in the mouth when I say this to him. That's all right. I have a good dentist. I have a really good dentist. But it's a message that he needs to hear. It was a message, it was a truth that I needed to hear when I was living in the labor camp those years back. Maybe it's a truth that you need to be reminded of. So, it's on you. It's on me to change my circumstances. Until I get that, my circumstances will never change. Second principle. I was having another conversation with another friend of mine that I've been working with in coaching. And she was saying, I've been looking for she lives in kind of a small town in the Midwestern part of the country. And she was saying, I've been looking for a speakers, a Toastmasters, or a Dale Carnegie, or some sort of Chamber of Commerce, or something like this, where I can go and meet people and network, and maybe get some opportunities to speak and give talks and that kind of thing. And she said, but I can't find anything where I live. I said, okay, so now what? Well, and it's really small where I live. And, I read this book by Wallace D. Wattles, right? You said, great recommendation, Glenn. You recommended this book to me, The Science of Getting Rich. And he says, bloom where you're planted. So I've been looking in, where I live in my town, and there's nothing. I said, okay. Something to realize about that book. That little principle in the book. And we've heard it before, right? Bloom where you planted, start where you are. Bloom where you're planted. When Wallace D. Wattles wrote that in 1910, there was no internet. Huh? Yeah. So I absolutely agree. Bloom where you're planted, I said to her. And you know where you're planted? You're planted right in front of your computer. So reach out. Hey, go to meetup.com. Go to here. Go to there. Hey, I'm looking for a group where I can, network with some people on Zoom and get to meet some other professionals. Maybe have some speaking opportunities. Anybody know anything they could recommend? Where? 330 million people in this country. You decide where. Hence the second principle. Here's the second principle. Box. Here's a question for you to write down. Question. 2 questions. Box. What box? She says, I said to her, well, go online and look. She says, oh, I see. So you mean I should think outside the box? I said, box? What box? Is you picking up what I'm putting down? And this is the other thing I'm going to share with my buddy when I get together with him, because he's really struggling financially, as you might imagine, with the whole thing with the wife and the blah, blah, blah. So, and Paula is very good at this too. Paula is very good, my dear secret weapon. No. John's the one with the secret weapon. I'm the one with the brainiac. I'm married to the brainiac. John's married to the secret. I'm married to the brainiac. Right? Okay, so as long as we have that straight. My brainiac is very good at coming up with creative ways to solve problems. She's kind of an engineer, and she's a geologist, but she likes to joke about herself as being an engineer. And the engineers, they're always thinking stuff up. I think there's a room in some government office someplace with about 1,000 engineers just sitting in there thinking stuff up. That's Paula. So she came up with a couple of ideas of where he might be able to go and what he might be able to do to make some money. Just because, you just got to get paid. Maybe you're not exactly working in your number one chosen field of endeavor at the moment, but you know what? One does what one must till one can do what one wants, if that makes sense. So, suggestions. Think outside of what you're even currently thinking of. And this is where places like the John Lavenia Success Mastermind come in handy. So we sit around and we say, hey guys, I'm looking to accomplish thus and such in my business. Anybody got any ideas? Well, that's why we're here. To support each other and to spend our time here in the mastermind thinking stuff up. for each other. So we've suggested, and we're going to suggest to him, go to this place. Go check that out. Hey, I hear Amazon's hiring. Listen, have you got to go work for Amazon for a while? What's wrong with that? He has a particular career, a particular business that he's pursuing. At the moment, things are a little shaky, business-wise. Hey, go work something. Go do what you got to do. I heard this statement, and I put it up occasionally on the social medias as a favorite saying of mine. I think it was Thomas Edison. Yes, it was Thomas Edison who said, "When you've done everything you can, remember this: you haven't." Did you catch that? I'll say it again in case, because I got confused the first time I read it. When you've done everything you can, remember this: you haven't. Because there is, in my opinion, a virtually infinite number of ways to make money in this world that we live, wonderful world that we live in today. There is a virtually infinite number of ways to accomplish and just about any goal that we set for ourselves. I can't even imagine the number of possible choices that my buddy could make to go someplace and get a job right quick and start making some money. Masterminds like ours are great for this. Also, quiet time is wonderful. That is, turn off the TV, turn off the cell phone, not silent, not vibrate, not stun setting. Turn it off. Turn the power off. Put it in a drawer. Grab a notebook and a pen and sit quietly for 15 minutes, 30 minutes. And at the top of the page, this is what I want to accomplish. I want to accomplish XYZ. How do I accomplish XYZ? Oh, yeah. Remember this book that I mentioned? Shall I share the secret with you? Shall I share the secret with you? The ultimate secret? Here it goes. In order to accomplish something, this one you're definitely going to want to write down. In order to accomplish something, you must be willing to do whatever it takes to accomplish it. In order to accomplish something, you must be willing to do whatever it takes to accomplish it. Now, something very important about that statement. In my opinion, one of the most important things about that statement is what it doesn't say. Did you notice? I didn't say, in order to accomplish something, you must do whatever it takes to accomplish it. What? Yeah, you heard that right. In order to accomplish something, you must be willing to do whatever it takes to accomplish it. In other words, if we want to accomplish something, first thing you and I must do is make known to the universe, make known to infinite intelligence, make known to God, make known to the formless substance of existence that I am willing to do whatever it takes. I'm open. I am open. I am willing to do whatever it takes. You know what you'll find, as I am finding, as John, and I know many of us are finding? I'm finding that just about every time when I say I'm willing to do whatever it takes to accomplish XYZ, my goal, the list of things that I actually need to do to accomplish that almost just about always presents itself. And the list is usually not as long as I thought it was going to be. The key, though, is to open my mind, open my heart, open my willingness to the universe to present me with the best solution. So, my friend needs to take responsibility, not blame himself, but to take upon himself the ability to respond and change his current situation. And he's going to need to become willing to do whatever it takes to change the situation. Willingness is where it starts. And you'll find, as he will, as I am finding, and many of us are finding, that the solution shows up. The old saying, was it Confucius? When the student is ready, the teacher will appear. So, I can change it. I and only I can change it. Number one. And number two, I'm willing to do whatever it takes. Okay, universe, show me what I need to do. Shut up, Glenn. What do you think? I would love to hear your thoughts on this. Because I know that many of us have found ourselves in very challenging situations. And you have a wonderful winning streak going. Did you know that? We all have. We have a win. We faced all kinds of difficulties, all kinds of challenges, problems, setbacks, but we have a fabulous winning streak going. That is, we have survived every difficult day in our life, right up till now. You're undefeated. Did you know that? Yeah, you're undefeated. So what do you think about this whole, just keep on moving. Take the response. Have you had that moment of realization? I know I have. When I don't get to blame other people anymore, when I don't get to blame my circumstances anymore. Has that happened to you? Well, I tell you, when it happened to me, it wasn't fun. But it was life-changing. So there it is. Mandy, I can tell. I can see the wood burning. Mandy's got ideas about this. I know she does.
Hi, Glenn.
Mandy.
I can't remember exactly when it was, but yes, I'm sure I had that as well. When it was probably when I went through my divorce, I should think. And I've been reading books all my life, as you know. I said before that. So, and responsibility, the ability to respond. That was what I was going to say before as well, because I think that is so good.
Mm-hmm.
So when you think about it as the ability to respond, and that you've got free will and you've got choice, and that everything where we are now is made up of all the choices that we've made. And even not making a choice is still making a choice, because we're making a choice to not do
If you
something.
choose not to decide, you still have made a choice.
And it's remembering that we got the choices. And so
Mm-hmm.
your friend is in a situation where he's thinking he has no choice and it's nothing, and he's just so depressed about it, isn't he?
Yes.
And it's so tough to be like that it takes someone to stand up to him and say, you. Because one of the things I did write down was, if he looks at where his life is, if he carries on doing what he's doing now, makes a choice that he's making now, where is that going to lead him? Just more of what he's got now. Or worse, if he keeps drinking, and it's trying to give him that realization that he's not going anywhere by carrying on what he's doing, and he's got to stand up, as you say, take responsibility. And it's your thoughts, and it's your actions, and it's your choices that get you to where you are now. And I think that has been so powerful for me too.
John, I'm so glad you brought that up, Mandy. John has talked about this before. He refers to one's default future. Like, what will your life be like in 5 years if nothing changes? If you take no action to change your circumstances. I know you don't like your circumstances now. Let's look a little bit down the road. Assume it's 5 years later and nothing's changed. You've taken no action to change it. What does your life look like? Ooh, that has brought people up short more than once.
Yeah.
Well, I guess it's better. I better take some action. I better do something. Move. Nice. Thank you. Thank you, man. Linda. How do, Linda? Oh, there you are.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm working. First of all, your friend is very fortunate to have you as a friend. I mean, And hopefully he recognizes that and accepts the help that you want to give him, because ultimately we can't help those that don't want to help themselves. Right. So,
Point.
I mean, yeah. I mean, hopefully he's open to receiving. I did recommend a book for him to read. I don't know if you saw it in the chat.
The Four Agreements.
Yeah. Yeah. Because that's like basically.
Don Miguel Ruiz, right?
What is it?
Don Miguel Ruiz?
I think so, yeah.
The Four Agreements, yes.
So. Yeah. A lot of people who are going through that kind of thing, it kind of helps. But yeah, I mean, I've been through some sticky situations, and that when you stop blaming yourself and take, I can't really say I was responsible for any of it, but.
Well, again, it's responsibility as opposed to blame.
Right. Well, yeah, I didn't blame myself. Okay, so like I was blaming myself before, and I stopped blaming myself because Yep. And just took responsibility to get through whatever I needed to get through. So, yeah, but hopefully he's open to it, Glenn, and he needs help. He definitely needs help.
I'll let you know. He's a good guy. He's a really good guy. And it bugs me to see him spiraling.
Right. I'm sure.
If you want to put it that way. And you put it quite right. You're quite right, Linda. It's impossible to help someone who doesn't want to be. I don't know if I'm going to get struck by lightning for saying this. I've always believed even God himself cannot steer a parked car.
It's very true. Very true. God works through us. He doesn't work for us. He works through us.
And you know what? That's good news.
Right. Yeah. Because he's going to be working through you to help him. So I don't know. I pray for him and hope that. I mean, it's a divorce is really a death. I mean.
Oh yeah. I
gotta let the dog out. Hold on.
Alrighty then. While you're letting the dog out, Mandy, you have another thought.
Yeah, what Linda just said, I was just thinking that there are some things that are not our responsibility. There are some things that have happened or can happen to you. I mean, divorce, there's two people there, but when you lose somebody or something else, it's not something you have done unless you were driving the car. I mean, then it's not yours. So that's about, I suppose, then is not blaming God, and I might do, and life, but it still comes back to you have the ability to respond. And I'm making this all sound easy. I know it isn't. If you've got that situation, it's not easy, and like Linda just said, it's like a death with his marriage, and he has to go through that grief of what he's lost and he's not getting. But if he doesn't change it now at his point, then he will still get the same things going forward. But there are some things that we don't necessarily bring to ourselves.
As I said, as we said before, this is not an easy conversation. Yeah, you're quite right in that a divorce does involve two people. Whatever the circumstances of the divorce, it does involve two people. And every circumstance, every event that happens in my life, I mean, look, who can control the weather? Yeah, right? Traffic. But within my circle of influence, Stephen Covey calls it, the things that I can control, the things that I have the ability to control, every circumstance is a result of my own choices. And I have the ability to respond and change those and affect those circumstances that are within my circle of influence, my circle of concern, things that I can think about, the weather, the politics, the this, the that, the other, the draft, stuff I literally cannot control, and it is a waste of my mental and emotional energy to try to fix or change those things, because I can't.
Right.
Focus on my focus, focus on what I get. Ingrid,
I think
Nice to
Linda's
see
not
ya.
done.
Hi, Ingrid. Well, it's
Linda.
like you were saying, Glenn. I mean, it's easy. It's easy. I mean, with the stuff that and it's easy to be able to sit quiet and learn to respond rather than to react. And he's reacting in a big way. And I mean, he's just had his heart ripped out, and now he's getting. I don't know. It's just a mess.
Yeah.
Anyways, I'm done.
Yeah.
Good luck. Good luck.
I'll let you know. Ingrid.
Hi, so I jumped on and I didn't hear the beginning of the problem with your friend, but I figured out something about divorce and drinking and all that stuff now. And that's as far as I sort of got. It just reminded me of something. My son's father died when my son was a year and a half. He committed suicide. And him and I had actually split up before my son was born. And it was such an acrimonious, horrible bullshit situation. And then I was in custody court and the whole thing was shit. When he died, it was really difficult. I don't remember exactly how I used to say this, but because I had never had time to mourn the dead relationship, because we were in the thick of custody battle. It was absolutely disgusting. So that part wasn't dealt with, like I'm going to call it divorce if you want, which made the dying thing tougher because it was like 2 deaths. So, I mean, your friend has to mourn this divorce so he can be ready for any other problem that comes along. Because if you have a double whammy, it's even worse.
Yeah, agreed. And the self-medication isn't helping. Let's put it that way.
Oh yeah, no, I got that part.
Because if I drink or take drugs or whatever in order to not feel pain, then that self-medication will also prevent me from feeling joy.
Well, you haven't dealt with it. You've just put it on the back burner, and you're actually you're avoiding the trouble. Like putting a
Band-Aid on a bullet wound.
Kind of.
Well, boy, I'm like the Buzzkill host today, bringing in all the tough stuff for people to have to deal with. But you know what? Rough seas. I'm just so full of bromides and axioms and corny sayings today, right? Rough seas make good sailors. All right? And here's another one. Every kid, just about every other kid I went to university with, had this Argus brand poster on their dorm room wall, which said, "A ship in the harbor is safe, but that is not what ships are built for." Does that sound corny and ridiculous? And absolutely true? We need not be afraid of problems. We need not be afraid of setbacks, challenges, defeats, failures. How many times you figure Steve Jobs failed before creating the $1 trillion brand that is now Apple? I can tell you my good buddy John Lavenia has failed once or twice. He'll tell you himself. Of course, I've never failed at anything in my entire life, ever. It's just been like falling off a log, smooth sailing right to the... Yeah, And you know what? Even the toughest personal stuff in our life, and I know it's easy for me to sit here and run my mouth about this, but at the same time, we've been through many of these things. You know, if you live long enough, you're going to go through some crap. Right? So it's easy, and other people going through it, "Oh man, you don't understand. You don't know what I'm going through." Well, no, I don't know exactly your exact circumstances. Let me share with you what I went through. Every one of us has had that moment, if we're honest with ourselves. Every one of us has that moment where we decide, okay, it is time to take for myself. Maybe we should rephrase this term. People say, "I take responsibility," means I blame myself. No. I take upon myself the ability to respond to my current situation. I have the ability to respond to it, meaning I have the ability to change it. That is, for most people, the hardest, the most difficult, the most gut-wrenching decision they will ever make in their life. To take full responsibility for all the circumstances of my life. But in a way, that is also very freeing, because it now gives me the power to design my life the way I want it to be, rather than being at the effect of circumstances, rather than being at the effect of other people's choices. I am, as our friend Reverend Lavenia likes to say, at cause in my own life. Nice place to be. Well, my friends, unless there is a final thought burning a hole in the pocket of someone's mind, we shall call it a day. I think we've got, once again, 3:15 Eastern Time, 8:15 U of K time. It is book. So what book are we doing? What book are we working on?
We're just finishing off Bob Proctor's You're Born to Be Rich. You
Were Born Rich. Excellent. Hey, it's the very right Reverend himself. John, what's up, man?
I just wanted to acknowledge, I listened to every word, and I've been running around, but thank you for a great session and some great perspective. One thing that I'm taking from this is that some people are professionally stopped, right? So thank you for counseling with your friend and showing him how to get unstopped, because all of my answers come when I'm in action, all of them.
Nice. Okay, I gotta write that. All my answers come. Some people are professionally stopped. As for me, all my answers come when I'm in action. Thank you, John.
Sure.
My man. All right, my friends, make it a fabulous day. We'll see you at 3:15. We'll see you tomorrow on the Gen Sesh. Live long and prosper. Bye for now.